Over the next few weeks, I will be sharing a series of discussions with several of my friends on mission titled How a Disciple Making Movement, or DMM, helps to meet the needs of the community. Each of the guests live in neighborhoods, communities, and cultures within those communities with a diversity of people and needs. And they are all representing Christ and helping bring his peace in ways that are culturally relevant and theologically sound. I am excited to share this with you and encourage you not to miss any of the episodes with the guest in this series. Now prepare to engage with this week's episode. My name is Thomas Clark, and welcome to the Takeoff podcast, where myself and guests help equip you to bring the peace of God to the place you live, work, learn, and play, all for his glory. Every problem is a discipleship problem. Being a disciple of Christ does not guarantee that we will not have problems. It does, however, give us the tools to face the challenges of life that come our way. My worldview is that Christ transforms culture, and he does it through his followers. The goal of Takeoff is to equip you for movemental thinking when it comes to making disciples. This is season 4, and I am excited about all the possibilities and everything we have lined up for this season. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so I am so glad, first of all, to have all of you all who are engaging with us on today to do so. And if you've been on any of the previous Takeoff podcasts, then you know that I frequently share that watching is like a bad word. At the worship center where God has blessed me to be the lead servant, the launching pad worldwide, tell people you're not watching, you're engaging. And that's what you're doing here also. First of all, this is all audio, so it's hard to watch. That's audio and seeing pictures up there. But secondly, because we're engaging. And so I really appreciate you doing that. And so during this part of season number 4, as promised, I've brought on other friends on mission, and we've had just the gamut of different people. And I'm so glad, I'm so honored to have this particular friend on mission with us on today, and a couple of things about her before I let her introduce herself and tell you about herself. I've known her for a while, for a long time. And sometimes you meet people and you have to think about, when did you meet them? You just know you know them. That's kind of how it is. I know I've known her for a long time, maybe late 70s, early 80s, something like that. And yet I just remember knowing her. That's how it is. But what I've known for a fact, at least from my perspective, is that she's always been the same. She's been consistent, and I can so appreciate that. And one other thing, I've tried to, with my friends on mission, you all, to bring on people from different backgrounds, different areas, not only geographically, but stages of life. So here's someone who's coming on who, if there's ever is a testament and a testimony that even as God allows you and graces you to get older in life, you still can work for him. You still have value to him, and you still have value to his kingdom. And so I am so pleased to introduce my friend on mission, Ruth Price, who is here. So first of all, Ruth, thank you so much for being with me and with us on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much, Bishop, Pastor Thomas, for inviting me to participate with you. I'm really, I'm really encouraged, and thank you so much. My name, like you said, is Ruth Price. I've known you. I've known you since you were 12 years old. I'm
Wow.
77 now. I am retired. I'm a widow. I have four grown children and one grandchild. He's 4 years old. I live in an established historical area of the city, Austin. And I know that you had another part of the Austin neighborhood represented by Nikki Adams. And God, as God has blessed us, we're going to be doing things together starting this month. So it will be representing more of Austin. But my part is where I live is of course it's a little different from hers, and we have different the different needs and the we have a diverse population culturally, ethnically, and in age groups. We have all ages, quite a few seniors, but we do have young people that have begun to move into our area. So it's we're in the process of changing and revitalizing, um, and so it's a relatively stable area. There's even in the apartment buildings, there isn't a lot of turnover. You know, in apartments, you do have turnover in the buildings, but there are tenants that have been in the area for 40 plus years. So it is a stable historical part of Austin neighborhood.
Thank you for the information and sharing that. It's funny you said that because I know the area in Austin in which she resides, and for probably from the time someone she knew me since I was 12, from the time I would have been um, maybe yeah, I guess maybe 12, 11, probably 11. My family lived in that area, a little further north, but in that area where she lives,
Hmm.
currently lives. And the funniest thing to me, then we went to elementary school just a couple of blocks, about 3 blocks south of where she lives. And I just remember this not on it has nothing to do with talking about today. It's just something that's funny to me. I guess my sisters can laugh now. My sisters went to the school also, and I feel I was responsible for them, and I was going to teach them a lesson. So we would ride the bus home. We ride the Chicago Transit Authority bus home from school, that Lake Street down, down to the house. And
Hmm.
one of my sisters lost the nickel. She lost the nickel. And so she didn't have enough money to get on a bus. And listen, y'all, I'm not proud of this, but I'm gonna say right now, I'm 54 years old. I was in 7th or 8th grade when this happened. So don't nobody judge me because I'm telling you, I'm 54 now. I would have been, 13, 12 or 13 when this happened. But my sister lost a nickel, and to teach her a lesson, we walked home. And I just remember them crying all the way home, talking about, can we ask somebody for a nickel? I said, we don't ask anybody for any money. And then they said, well, can we call our parents and ask them to pick us up? I said, no, because you know what you're not going to do? You're not going to lose your nickel next time. And I just remember, I don't say that because we had to walk past where she lives now going home. And oh my gosh, they just, and had you lived over there then, they probably would have asked you to stop by your house and rest or something because I made them walk all the way home. But anyway, listen, we grown. Both my sisters got grandkids now, y'all. So don't trip because everybody's
Hmm.
okay. Everybody's okay. Everybody's okay. Anyway, anyway, we're here talking about disciple making movement,
Yes.
and you shared again how God has been using you in your area, that you're retired now, and that's a different space in life, but yet it's one where where it's evident that God can use any of us, and so that's a blessing. One of the things that, and we'll be sharing with the other friends on mission, that we have to do, he wants us to do, is to be incarnate. And we talk about incarnate, it really is to be enfleshed. The only one who can truly, completely, totally be enfleshed is Jesus himself. He came as enfleshed. We are embedded into communities, but then in essence, in terms of being incarnate, he wants to live or be enfleshed in us to be in the community. So in a contemporary sense, Christ can still be incarnate through us. It's not the same as him coming to the earth and being incarnate like it was 2,000 years ago. Yet at the same time, he wants to live through us. And so we represent Jesus where we are. And so the missional incarnational impulse really means that we show up in the flesh. We don't just send a representative. And that's the beautiful thing about it. I'm thinking about this, that when we fail into sin, the Lord didn't just send another representative, he came himself. Yeah, that's the love he has. He's I'm gonna come myself. The prophets were never meant to be Christ. They were not meant to do what he did. They came to speak for him, but he came himself. And so we show up in the flesh in our first, second, and third places. Our first place is the community in which we live. And because, as you know, the launching pad worldwide, where you serve on our APES team as a follower of Christ there. And for those that don't know, APES means apostolic, prophetic, evangelistic, shepherd, and teaching. These are functions based on functional gifts based on Ephesians chapter 4. When we say Jesus is Lord, and we're talking about Jesus being Lord, then that means we go from disbelief to belief that he's Lord in every area of life. And because he's Lord, our home is not our castle. Because he's Lord, it really belongs to him. It's really hard. You mentioned you're a resident, you have a home in the awesome community. But just, I think, and I guess I'll pause before we talk about incarnate just to ask your thoughts about this. In my opinion, it's really challenging to talk about that any of us have a castle in his kingdom if he's meant to show up through us where we are. So I just before we talk about incarnate, what are some of the ways you've allowed Jesus to be Lord in at your house?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Thank you so much for coming by the podcast page. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, the information that is shared has and will be able to benefit you and also the people you know. Listen, if it has been, or you believe it will benefit you, I'm asking you to do me two favors. First of all, please follow. Yeah, click follow. That way, every time a new episode is released, you will be alerted and you can stay current on everything that we're talking about. But additionally, I'm going to ask that you consider supporting. Your financial support goes a long way to help me help others in the work that we're doing in creating the disciple-making movements. For your monthly or yearly support, not only will you receive access to episodes before everyone else does, but you also will, on a monthly basis, have a live Q&A with me where I will be able to answer questions based on the episodes and questions you may have from what's been shared. There's only so much that myself and my guests can say during the podcast recordings, but during the live Q&A, we can take a deeper dive into questions you may have, ways that we've seen it play out and work out, and perhaps even some suggestions that you may have that we may be able to comment on to help you and help equip you to help bring the peace of God to the places you live, work, learn, and play. Thank you again for following and for supporting. I appreciate it.
Well, I have opened up my house just as he is open to us. I've opened up my house to others. Um, and my life really, it's not anything I have or anything I do is because God has given it to me. So I had to look at things differently. I guess that's it. I look at things differently. And it's not that, everything we have is ours, and it's ours to have. It's ours to use to bless others, to help others to see Him. And I think it's really been an attitude adjustment or attitude change, since I have become a friend on mission. That when I came into this awareness of what God really wanted us to do, um, and I know that I am more open, um, and I have encouraged those in my community to be open. Um, and I don't know if you're ready, if you want me to just go in and start where I started. When I started, I knew my neighbors. You asked me once, can you name your neighbors in the, next to you, across from you, behind you? And I could name them by name, but I didn't have a real relationship with them where I knew them, where we did things together, you know. So this experience has really helped me to be open my heart, open my mind, my home, and I've been blessed. It really is enriching. So to be in this community, it's amazing. There are some really talented, amazing people that I never would have known had I not been part of this movement, the disciple making movement.
Well, that's good. Thank you. I mean, you went into in terms of being incarnate where you live, and I appreciate that. That's fine, and that's great because what it does, a couple of things. One, it humanizes what you're doing. Humanizes the people. Too many times, people can become objects. They become the neighbor who has a big mean dog, or the
Hmm.
neighbor who plays the music real loud, or the person whose kids always run up down the street, and as opposed to how Christ sees them as his image bearers, as
Yes.
people he loves, and as people he wants us to love. And I think that's one of you talking about your house and everything else, and that's one of the benefits of being incarnate. I was going to talk about where we live in our first place. It's one of the benefits of doing that, because you're able to see people how Christ sees them, which honestly it's not always easy because people are people, and sometimes people being people can work our nerves, and we can work their nerves too if we're honest, that they can do and say things, and we don't understand why they do it, and they don't understand why we do what we do, but yet showing up in the flesh,
Hmm.
allowing Christ to show up in the flesh through us makes a world of difference, makes a significant difference. I would imagine that where you live, there's probably been challenges in terms of on the block
Hmm.
challenges.
Hmm. Well, yeah, there were challenges because we didn't really know each other. And when there is, you couldn't really address any issues because first of all, you got to know what they are. You got to know the people to know what's important to them. Which means how you going to know the people? Well, you got to talk to them. You got to communicate with them. You got to ask them, which you have to make yourself available. And a lot of times, we've been selfish and not taking the time to make ourselves available, to do that. It really has to be a conscious effort. Um, and then two people tend to be, they're not going to show you who they are necessarily just by you waving at them, as you get to your car to go on your way. You're never going to learn what's important to them or how they feel even. It's all going to be on the surface. So we really have to make a conscious effort to do a deep dive into the people around us.
Well,
Really.
yeah,
To,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the things we say at the Launching Pad Worldwide is we invite people into our life until they
mhm,
trust us enough to invite us back into their life. But
Yes.
then, and trust by its very nature is something we have to earn. We have to earn that trust. But we earn that trust through our vulnerability, through our transparency, through our inviting them in so they can see that they can trust us. Because honestly, particularly in the way things are in the world, people don't always know, can I trust you? Can I trust that, whatever it is, for whatever it is, can I trust you? That's good. That's good. But then in doing that, beyond the challenges, I would imagine beyond the challenges of just getting to know people, and how you got to know them, but perhaps maybe even there have been times, I like where I live, um, there are times when unfortunately the paramedics have had to show up, or there've been times when, because someone is ill, times even when law enforcement had to come around because something, they have to do what they have to do. There have been other times when not necessarily on our block direct, but right down the street, the next block, whatever, where there's been unfortunate instances of violence and whatever, and then law enforcement had to be involved, because of that. And we actually did have one thing on our blocking with domestic violence. So somebody, they didn't even live over here, and we intervened to try and, to prevent, to stop that from happening. Um, and not necessarily, you may not necessarily have those instances specific like that, but I'm sure you've had some times when there may, I'm not sure, I would imagine you had some times when there's been some type of, or has there been a time when there's been some type of urgency where maybe you've been, because of Christ through you, the calming presence on your block?
Yes. As a matter of fact, in getting to know down the street and and talking, so you got to get out and talk to folk because in getting out and talking to some neighbors, I found out that there was another neighbor, not on my block, but further down because I actually tried to go 3 blocks down. Um, there was another neighbor who was making it very difficult for an older resident that lived next to them. They were blocking their street and blocking the handicap parking and just being ugly, you know. Um, and the older person was really an older gentleman, was really upset about it. And first of all, when I found out about it, of course, I talked with him, but then I also wanted to talk with the person that was being disruptive too. And I don't know that how much difference it made, but I know that it had to make a difference because Christ always makes a difference, and it did. The situation did resolve. So yes, there is that. Whenever there's something that happens now, because now I'm tuned in. I have everybody's phone number, I have their email. In fact, I have over 80 people on my email list. I have over 40 people on a Facebook. I can reach them real fast by Facebook. I got over 40 on Facebook, just for our 3 blocks. So that something does happen, we have a fast way of getting to everybody. And that 40 can reach the other 40 that don't have the email, the Facebook. But yes, whenever there's something that happens, we try to look out for each other. If And they've looked out for me. I was on vacation, out of town, and one of the neighbors said, I don't know if she texted me or called me, but of course I have my phone even if I'm out of town. And she told me that there was a group of young people in front of my house and it had somebody died. I said, "Oh, they're having a memorial. They were having a memorial for one of the young people, and they were doing it on the street as young people do." But yeah, anytime there's a concern, they know how to reach me. They do call me. They call me when they're sick. They call me to pray with them. Um, if somebody dies, of course they're gonna call me. and we do what we can, to visit that family, and of course show up and be present for whatever's needed. So yeah.
Yeah, well, you're saying you said several things there, to unpack, and then I'm saying this, and yeah, I just several things were said. One of the things you talked about is the person with whom you spoke, and you brought the presence of God in because anyone can, not anyone, people can just show up and have conversations, but you didn't just show up with conversation, show up with the Lord. And that
Hmm.
which makes a significant difference, because we as followers of Christ, particularly the disciple making movement, this is not just altruistic work that we're doing. We're not just being do-gooders. Even
Hmm.
we want to do good. There's intentionality with it, and that intentionality is being enfleshed in Christ, being enfleshed through us. And then you mentioned that you showed up conversation, which takes, the boldness and the courage of Christ to be in you to do that, because in this movement we're not afraid to have conversations with people. And so that's powerful. But then you said something else as relates to, an email list you have and a Facebook list you have, and I'm not being funny. You mentioned earlier, your age, and I just want to say this parenthetically to all those who are engaging with us. Again, thank you so much for engaging with us. But I think just the fact when you said that, it shows everyone that no matter how old you are, you can still use technology also, to do what's necessary to help reach people with the love of Christ. You use what you have, and so there's no real. I mean, we can always find reasons not to do something, but we really don't have an excuse why we can't do something to reach people, because you cannot. Thank God you can get out and go down and see them. But even at other times, you have email, you have social media, you have things that you're using that can connect people back to Christ through you. So I just want to commend you for that, and encourage again all those who are engaging with us right now. Social media can be used for, and email and all this can be used for nefarious reasons, you all, but it also can be used for positive reasons. It all depends on how we use it. Some people say that Facebook is the devil. No, the devil is the devil. Facebook is not the devil. The devil is the devil. But at the same time, as a follower of Christ, what are we doing with the tools we have to be able to connect people to God? So I wanted to commend you, for doing that, and that's wonderful.
Thank
That's
you. And
wonderful.
not only that, though, it also can connect them with each other. That's the key. It's not just connecting them with me, and it, it's I'm encouraging people to engage with each other, and people that didn't know each other before, people that lived in this area for more than 20 years, 30, 40 years, they didn't know each other. I walked down, I had walked down the street one day. I'm not walking so much right now, but when we started this, I did walk down and I spoke to a man at the end of my block, and he was working on his lawn, and I spoke to him, and just a few pleasantries of the day. And he said, "Well, who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm your neighbor at the end of this block." "Well, when did you move in?" I said, "I've been here for 20 years." Well, I never, I didn't know it. And I thought, oh, that's so sad. It's sad on his part and my part, but we're going to change that. And we have changed that. And now he knows me well. But it's not just me, but I want all of them to know each other. Because if we want Christ, or we do want Christ to transform culture here, we want peace on our blocks. We want peace throughout the world, but I got to start where we live. We got to start where we've got to do it now here where we live. We got to know each other. It's hard to hurt somebody that you know. It's kind of easy to be mean and ugly to people you don't know. I wouldn't say, for us, it's not what we do, but it seems to be the thing that if I know you and I see you face to face, it's going to be at least something that I have to really think about doing if I want to hurt you, you know. So if we want peace, we got to be prepared to get together for the common good, love each other, and we need Christ. We need His peace to prevail.
Yeah, we do. That's good. So where you live, again, being incarnate, letting Christ live through you, and be present through you in the flesh where
Hmm.
you live. So His peace, His shalom can be there. He is the Prince of Peace, and allowing people to see Him through that, and let that be what connects others to one another, centered around Him and His peace. And this is a good place to stop right here for part one of our conversation with Ruth Price on how a disciple making movement helps to meet the needs of the community. Listen, first of all, thank you for hanging with us and engaging with us during this episode. If you have not done so, I ask you to please consider subscribing so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be notified. I also will ask you to consider supporting for as little as $3 a month. You will not only receive episodes before anyone else, but, and here's what I really like about this, you will be able to join me on a live Q&A each month, once a month. For all those who support, we will do a live Q&A, and we can do a deeper dive into what we've talked about. Okay, thank you again so much for joining us. What's your I will statement? Based on what you've heard so far, what will you do and who are you going to share it with? Until next time, let's take off.